We have a situation here on Chappaquiddick.
There's been an accident. We can't find Mary Jo.
Yeah, Chappaquiddick, it's almost 50 years old, but I only found out about it 5 years ago because the Texas public school system does not teach things like Chappaquiddick. You never get past Vietnam in Texas high schools, is my joke. But the thing that was interesting for us and the reason that we were so determined to tell the story was because we had long been so fascinated by Ted Kennedy as a senator and all the things that he had been doing with healthcare, etc. And then he endorsed Barack Obama instead of Hillary Clinton. And we were actually watching Real Time with Bill Maher, and Bill said, Ted Kennedy, changing presidential history for the second time. You know, he would have been president in 1972 had it not been for Chappaquiddick. New rule. And I was just like, whoa, you can't move to the next segment. What are you talking about? Chappaquiddick, I've never heard of this before. And to put it in the context of changing presidential history, I was just so fascinated that we hopped on the Google machine and we went into Wikipedia, the internet's #1 resource. And it just unfolded immediately that this was a story that I was so shocked had never been told before cinematically.
So, you know, as you mentioned, we first found out about Chappaquiddick in 2008, but we didn't start writing the movie until 2014. And I think it took us about 5 months to complete the first draft of the script. And before that, we researched for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I think that for any true story, the research process is probably the most intense part. And we, started out by looking to get the transcript to the, inquest into whether a crime had been committed. And they actually have all the major characters under oath, Ted Kennedy, all the Boiler Room girls. And it took us reading that 1,000-page transcript about 3 times before we really understood it and really saw all the nuances in it. And so, yeah, the research period was like April to September of 2014. And then that was when we really knew that we had a story and we had a script that we wanted to write. So.
And I'm the son of a lawyer, and, with, that sort of guiding light of like the pursuit for the truth was sort of how we approached how we were going to tell the story.
We were lucky enough that Andrew, in his first internship, interned at a company where the development executive moved on to become a manager. And with that barrier to entry, or at least, an email in your pocket, we were able to email him the script.
10 years after I'd had that job and met him.
Yeah, he had been emailing him happy birthday for 10 years. So that's my recommendation for anybody who meets a promising young upstart in development, is always email them happy birthday. But we sent it to him, and he happened to know the exact right person that was looking for exactly this material. And believe it or not, it was a producer who had been producing a lot of Disney sports movies and a lot of very inspirational stories that was looking to do something dark. And he had the money and had the enthusiasm. We were really lucky. One of the reasons that we knew that this was a story that needed to be told as a movie was because it's so hard in text to be able to feel the environment of the moon landing kind of as this thing hanging over the entire weekend that the events are happening, and seeing how the moon landing affected the coverage of Ted Kennedy's accident, and ultimately, perhaps it was manipulating the media to make sure that they didn't have as much information to publish on the same day as the moon landing, and kind of like creating a story with that extra time built in.
And that's really rich for us thematically, because with the moon landing, you have the height of the promise of the Kennedy presidency happening at the same time as the lowest point in Ted Kennedy's career.
It's ultimately a clear case of how different history would be before and after Watergate. Chappaquiddick happened before Watergate, and I think that people had a really different idea of what their public officials were like at the time. I think that everyone held their elected officials on a pedestal. And I think one of the reasons that we wanted to write Chappaquiddick was because we wanted people of all political parties to have truth be their guiding force and have them really look, with a, sharp eye at what their politicians had been doing. sadly, whataboutism started with Chappaquiddick, and what people say today about Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton. Ultimately, sometimes these are dodges, and at the end of the day, me and Andrew's perspective is that truth has no political party, and that for us, it's most important that you go in with clear eyes and like nonpartisanship in the way that you look at these things. And we actually are, huge fans of a lot of the policies that Ted Kennedy enacted. Not to quote Get Out, but I would have voted for Barack Obama for a third term if I could have. But at the end of the day, I think that we found that having a chance to reanalyze things with the full facts really brought a lot of new information to our eyes, and it's something that I think that was about to get lost to the sands of time had it not been brought back to the fold. So I can tell you this is very interesting. I think every generation has a moment where they reevaluate how the justice system works. And I think that for me growing up, it was the O.J. Simpson case. I think that for people of my mom's generation, it might have been Chappaquiddick, where you see a clear wrongdoing, get away with a slap on the wrist or a not guilty because of the power, because of the influence. And I think that that's something that we are taught to be very idealistic and very optimistic about our judicial system. And it's something that in reevaluating it, it's something that everybody has their own moment where they realize the problems.
Oh my God, what have I done?